Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. I am Reverse Blaine and today we will be talking about the recap of this session. Now before we get started, I'd like to give a small description of what the session has been like so far. Players have been late, some not showing up, and this session specifically, only one player showed up. So it's gonna get pretty interesting there already. So one way I can describe it is, if you watched my last video, you would know that we ended the session with one of the players dying. So the Way of Mercy monk that buried our beloved rogue last game had decided to start heading off to sea to go to Crone's tomb. Crone's tomb being the destination they were trying to head after to begin with before they ran into the BBEG. The monk had made a small raft and they took the NPC Alon out to sea. They were out there for hours on calm waters. Land was unseeable by them. Luckily, the monk made a survival check and they went back to shore safely. After they realized that the raft would take too long, they decided to go to the tavern and ask around, see if anything can help. They eventually found a man who said they could help them. So, the Way of Mercy monk got Alon, who was talking around to some individuals, and well, they went on the ship. And on the first day, the water was fairly calm. Second day, the water was getting a little bit rougher. Third day, water was tilting the ship. Heavy rain. And on the fourth day, the monk and Alon had woken up shipwrecked. Everyone else was dead, including the captain. They had finally found out where Crone had died, seeing as his famous great sword was right by him. And I guess mission was accomplished. Except now there was one issue. What the heck were they going to do here? Why did they come here to begin with? And how are they going to get back? Well, those of you who usually watch this video know that monk really knows how to think on his feet. Compliments to the monk, in my opinion. So the monk decided to investigate the island a little bit more. They felt like as if they were watched, but they continued on anyways. They eventually found a small hut. And now, once they started looking around inside the hut, they found some parchment with paper scribbled. And after looking around for a little while, looking out the window, they saw a black, shady, red-eyed ghost watching them. Once the monk had noticed this, they told Alon to run, while the monk distracted the ghost. Once the monk realized the ghost was not hostile, and realized that the ghost could not speak, so they spoke through symbolism and writings in the sand. Yes, I made the ghost actually write in the sand. The ghost eventually took the monk to Crone's body once asked who was he and how their vocal cords got ripped out. Yes, pretty brutal. They pointed at Crone and then slid their finger across the throat, signifying the signal for death. That's right, this ghost was killed by Crone with their vocal cords ripped out. The ghost then showed the monk, which I probably should mention, his name was Minerva, to its body, which had a journal. Once the monk started reading the journal, it became clear that the Archmage sort of ghost figure thing, I haven't really decided, but we went with Archmage. Once they read the journal, the monk had learned that the Archmage was once one of Crone's friends before Crone killed him. They had been stuck on the island, and the ghost is still stuck on the island, and they came here looking for the Sword of Purification. Now, might I remind you that the Sword of Purification was actually on the mainland, guarded by a great powerful lich named Styx, who is actually not a bad guy. Anyways, once the ghost realized the Sword of Purification was gone, it wanted to know where it was. The monk told the ghost. The ghost showed them around the island a bit more, and once the ghost took the monk back to the hut, the ghost showed the monk a scroll of time stop under the floorboards. Once the monk realized that they couldn't stay on the island forever, it told the ghost that they had to leave. The ghost did look sad. It enjoyed the company of any being now being around after being alone for several years. So the monk decided that the ghost should go with them. The monk, having made it another friend, decided to make a makeshift raft again. Nat 20 on the survival check. And this whole island, might I mention, was surrounded by a storm, a very raging storm. Perfect perimeter. But, you know, Nat 20, I say, is where you defy the odds. Because really, you just went against 5% chance of making it. And plus, I didn't want the character to die. Especially with all the things they had and the big plans they had. More on that in a moment. Now, the monk, had finally managed to sail out, and after several days at sea, they had a few levels of exhaustion and were very hungry. Once they made it to mainland, they begged for food. Luckily, some people showed kindness and gave them some, and they were on their way. The monk now wanted to go and find an emerald dragon. Luckily, they could find an emerald dragon at a volcano. Yes, they had a few more levels of exhaustion after this, but the monk decided to drink some water all throughout and at the end. So I decided, you know what? It'll heal within the day. Anyways, I'm pretty sure it would have healed within a day anyways. So, after they made contact with this grand ancient beast. No, it wasn't an ancient emerald dragon, it was just an adult. They offered it Sarwin's journal, Sarwin being the Forgotten King, the big bad evil guy, and the journal of the Archmage. So, what did they ask for? What big idea did the monk have on attacking a practically invulnerable foe? They wanted a sword that could attack the mind of an enemy. So, the Emerald Dragon agreed. and gave them a sword that can help them deal psychic damage. A Draconic Wrath sword. After they had left the volcano, they saw a drow sitting on a log. They went up to the drow and realized it had black eyes with red pupils. The drow announced itself as Drake Delvin, who the player immediately realized was once an ally of Sarwyn, the first drow. They talked for a little bit, learned a little bit of how Drake Delvin had gave Sarwyn their immortality, and after a while, Drake Delvin thought of an idea. The players all wanted to see Styx once Drake had mentioned them, so they all teleported to Styx's library. Now, once they had made it to the library, the drow, Drake Delvin, had whispered some secret project into Styx's ear. The players unaware of the greatness that will eventually happen. More on that in a later video. For even the players don't know what Drake has planned. Now we're nearing the end of the video, so I'd like to just spend this time to say thank you to you all for watching this all the way through. Seriously, you have no idea how much this helps. And hey, while we're nearing the end, why don't you just hit that subscribe button? Okay? Got that out of the way? Okay, good. Anyways, Drake had mentioned a secret project into Styx's ear. Styx was reluctant at first, but then they agreed. The player asked Great Styx if they could assist in destroying the Forgotten King. Styx, not wanting to lay a hand on his old friend, decided to help the players in another way by giving them potions. Now, the potions that were given to the party were pretty great in my opinion. Great job on my part. Along with the Dragon's Wrath weapon with Awakened from an Emerald Dragon, they now had, thanks to Styx, 1 potion of advantage, 3 potions of greater healing, and 4 potions of necrotic damage. Now, if I may remind you, the players are level 8 right now. Well, they're level 10 now. I jumped them 2 levels because the monk was doing all the work. So I couldn't really just reward the monk without rewarding the players, without it seeming like favoritism. So they're now all level 10. Plus, they're moving the story along pretty quickly. So I have to make them more prepared, because this is a battle, a major battle, that they're almost not ready for. Anyways, once the players were getting ready to leave, before they left, the monk had asked Drake Delvin if he could show them where Sarwyn's base was, for they had learned it was Sarwyn that took Drake Delvin out of the abyss after he had been banished there thousands of years ago. All Drake did was scribble up a map, mark the location, and say it's there. Now move along. As they began working on this scroll project. And all of that time in the campaign took about a month and a half in game. Boy, this video has been going on for a long time. So, why don't we just cut the video here? If you liked the video, consider subscribing. If you didn't like, well, show some nice, kind-hearted support anyways, and leave a comment down below what you didn't like. Other than the name, it's not changing. Anyways, thank you all for watching the video all the way through. Hit that subscribe button again, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out, everybody.